All right, guys, here's the study guide for tonight. Remember, your test is tomorrow. Okay, so the multiplicative identity. The multiplicative identity says I can take any number and times it by 1, and I still get that number. And the only one that does that is D. Okay? This one up here is the inverse of addition. This one is the inverse of multiplication. And then that one is the identity of addition. All right, next one. Which property is illustrated in the number sentence below? So I can take any number and I can add its opposite and I get 0. And the property that tells me that is the additive inverse property. So C. Which equation illustrated so the multiplicative inverse. The multiplicative inverse says I can take any number, I can multiply it by its opposite, which is the reciprocal, and I get out 1. So that would be B. Which one is shown? All right, so this one, remember, for it to be associative, it would have to go 7, 2, 7, 6, 7, 2, 7, no. Commutative, I just flip the order. I'm not changing any order here. So it has to be distributive. And that's because this is 7 times 2 plus 7 times 6. So we do usually see it like this, but you could also see it this way. Make sure you know both. All right, speaking of the distributive property, negative 4 times x is negative 4x. A negative and a negative is a positive. 4 times 8 is 32. That's it. Jamal says that 6 plus 5 plus 2 is equal to 5 plus 6 plus 2. Which of the following properties? All right, so for it to be associative, I would have to say 6, 5, 2, 6. No. Okay, so then I look at distributive. I'm not distributing anything, so no. Commutative. So 6, 5 flip-flops with 5, 6. So it is the commutative identity, or commutative property, excuse me. All right, which of the following? Okay, so remember, when you see one of these, you take this into 3 separate equations, or 3 separate sections. I'm going to break it up. So I've got a yellow, a green, and a blue group. So I've got to go through and determine which group uses the additive inverse property. Remember, the additive inverse property says any number plus its opposite gives me 0. And the only one that does that is this blue group. So now I look at the answer choices and I see which one is correctly simplified, and it's D, because the negative 4 plus 4 is 0. All right, the additive inverse. The additive inverse, once again, any number and its opposite gives me 0. So 21 plus a negative 21 gives me 0. The multiplicative inverse. 1/6, the opposite of 1/6 is 6 over 1, which is just 6. Circle your answer below. Okay, so first thing I see is parentheses, so I really want it to be associative. So for associative, the order stays the same. 3, 6, negative 2, 3, 6, no. So immediately both of my associatives are out. Okay, so now I'm going to go to distributive. It's not distributive and it's not multiplicative. So I'm in between commutative, but I've got to determine when it flip-flops. So if I look within the parentheses, it's 6 times negative 2. And then over here, it's negative 2 times 6. So that's when it flip-flopped, and it flip-flopped for the multiplication. So it's this one, commutative property of multiplication. All right. Andre hit 4 more home runs. Okay, so 4 more home runs than twice the number of home runs Larry hit. Together, they hit 10 runs. Which equation represents the total? And that would give me A. All right, even if you put 4 plus 2 in equals 10, these are the same things because of the commutative property of addition. Remember that. All right, 7 less than, remember, less than is a turnaround word. The quotient, quotient means to divide. Remember, when we divide, we use fractions. So the quotient of h and the number 14. So that gives me D. All right, so I see that -5 out there, so I'm immediately thinking it's probably going to be a 5 less than, right? So 5 less than the quotient of P and 8. And just to make sure, I'm going to write that out. So 5 less than the quotient of P and 8. Yep, that's what I started with. All right, which since best describes the equation. So I've got 9 times x. So if I look on here, the product of 9 and x, so that looks good because product means multiplication, right? Plus 3 equals y. Yes. The top one would look like this. The product of 3 and 9 plus x is y. That's not right. The sum of x and 3 multiplied by 9 equals y. That's wrong. And the sum of 9 and x multiplied by 3 equals y. All of those are wrong. So it's D. All right. This one, 4 minus a, so that's a difference. So the difference of 4 and a number, excuse me, divided by 2. That's an A. Let's see what these other ones would look at. The difference of 2 and A divided by 4, that's answer B. C is the quotient of 4 and a number minus 2. And D is the quotient of 2 and a number minus 4. So those are all wrong. Which phrase best represents this one? 2 less than, turn around, so 2 less than F. So D. All right, we're going to use the model. We didn't really talk about this too much in class, but I think y'all can figure it out. All right, I've got 1, 2, 3 x's. So I've got 3x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 negative 1, so negative 15. So that gives me 3x equals negative 15. I divide both sides by 3. X equals negative 5. And that is answer choice B. All right. How to solve the equation in one step. All right, so I cover up my x. Remember, I find my variable, and then I want to get rid of that plus 9. The opposite of adding 9 is subtracting 9. So I want to subtract 9 from both sides. Okay. Which student needs 12 minutes to give a report for English class? Oh, sorry, each student needs 12 minutes to give a report for English class. A class period is 48 minutes long. The equation to determine the number of students who could give a report in one class period is, look, oh my goodness, all of that stuff, and they gave me the equation. How many students can give a report? So as the students, this is 12 times S. The opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. 48 divided by 12 is 4, so 4 students. All right, so I cover up, here's my variable. I find it. I cover up everything touching the variable. I'm left with a minus 4, so I add 4. Bring down your y over 5. 20 plus 4 is 24. All right, this is y divided by 5. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I multiply by 5, giving me y equals 120. All right, the balance below models the equation. All right, so I've got 1, 2 x's, 1, 2, 3, plus 3, equals, this is like having a big equal sign there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are negative, so negative 5. Now, I just go ahead and I solve. All right, so here's my x. I cover up everything touching it. I'm left with a positive 3, so I subtract 3. 2x equals negative 5 minus 3 is a negative 8, and I divide by 2. X equals negative 4. All right, A furniture rental store charges a down payment of $175 per month for a table. Hidden or Hild paid $550 to rent the table. Solve, looky. They gave me the equation. So 75N plus 100 equals 550. Here's my variable. So I have a plus 100, so I need to subtract 100. Bring down your 75N. This was supposed to be 0. 550 minus 100 is 450. This is 75 times N. So the opposite of multiplying by 75 is dividing by 75. N equals, and I don't feel like doing this in my head. Let's see. 450 divided by 75 gives me 6. So A. All right, circle the algebraic expressions. Remember, there are expressions and equations. Equations have an equal sign. Expressions do not. So I'm literally just going to go through and I'm going to find anything with an equal sign. If it has an equal sign, then it's an equation, not an expression. So this one is an expression, that one's an expression. Okay. 4 less than the product of 8 and x is negative 92. All right, now I can take that equation and I solve. The opposite of negative 4 is plus 4. That gives me negative 88, and I divide by 8. X equals negative 11. Susan is solving the equation. All right, I need to find my variable. So my first step, the opposite of adding 10 is subtracting 10. So my first step is to subtract 10 on both sides, so that one. Then I'm left with 3x equals negative 18. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I need to divide both sides by 3. All right, this is like the one that we saw in the turkey today. So a minus and a minus is a plus. So this is x plus 9 equals negative 13. The opposite of adding 9 is subtracting 9. So x equals negative 22. All right, so now they want us, so I need to take this and I need to represent it. So I have 2 x's. So here's an x, so I need 2 rectangles. Then I have minus 4, okay? So if I look at minus 4, here's my negative. So I need to do 4 negatives. And then equals negative 8. Once again, I need to stick with the negatives. That's it. Okay? All right, so this is x plus 3 all over 4. If it's an all over 4, I multiply both sides by 4. X plus 3 equals negative 8, and then I subtract both sides by 3. X equals negative 11. All right, I need to start by distributing. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. Over here I've got 35. Now I add 40. And I divide by 5. X equals 75 divided by 5, 15. And remember, you're check stepping on your actual test. All right, I need to combine like terms. 8x minus 10x is a negative 2x. Drop down your plus 14, drop down your negative 12. Now I subtract 14, and I divide by negative 2. So x gives me a positive 13. Make sure you study, okay? And that you look over your unit part 1 and part 2 tests, because there's going to be a whole section on that, okay? Study hard, and I'll see you tomorrow.